Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We had a really, really interesting triple header yesterday between three of the young, up and coming. Well, I guess they're not even really up and coming anymore. They're sort of the faces of boxing, like this new, younger generation. The guys who was hanging around 130, 135 pounds all grew up together. Of course, I am talking about the likes of Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Romero, Teofimo Lopez. And yeah, like I said, they've all grown up together. And you can tell just in the lead up to this fight week, all of the media rounds that they had to do, there was definitely mutual respect. Yeah, you can tell they grew up together, man. And to see each other on this stage, competing in the sport that they love with added stakes and for a whole lot of cash, it must be a pretty cool full circle moment for these guys, because obviously they're very, very competitive, but yeah, you have to have respect for someone who came through the same way that you did, and going through all of those experiences together regardless. Getting into the fight, let's start with Teofimo Lopez. In my opinion, he looked on. There's so many discussions always around Teofimo Lopez, whether he's going to be hot or cold, because to this day I can remember the George Kambosos fight, him taking that first L, and in a matchup that really, really, Teofimo with the skills, the boxing IQ, how naturally talented he is, he should win that fight 9 times out of 10. A very interesting result, and I think that plus a few other performances has garnered a big question around Teofimo Lopez, whether he's on or off, whether he can get up for the fight, and how much that's going to dictate his performance and ability within the ring. Now, clearly, big stage, and a bit of animosity between him and Arnold Barboza Jr. Now, Teofimo Lopez looked on. From the first round, he used beautiful defense, like using that cross guard almost, that modified Philly shell. His eyes in there are some of the best I've ever seen. Like his range management, his ability to stay safe. He maybe ate one clean right hand, 2 or 3 clean right hands over the whole 12 rounds. Was landing beautiful shots himself, countering really, really nicely, but also firing in between the combinations of Barboza. As soon as Barboza would try and get settled into a combo, Teo would catch and shoot a right hand, and then he's out of there. And that movement caused Barboza so much issues. He could never get him set, and he just spent 12 rounds chasing him around the ring, getting pot-shotted. Now, Teofimo did put some combinations together towards the end of the fight, but he didn't even necessarily need to. Like, his speed and footwork was so far beyond Barboza that, yeah, those two outliers were enough for Teo to just sort of cruise through the fight. And his eyes, his speed, and that defense, like we've been saying, is, yeah, it's a thing of beauty to watch when you see it all come together on the highest level in a fight like that, because some of the defensive moves he was using against the ropes, his ability to, even when he gets hit, to not get hit clean, but to roll, to take the steam off the punches, to catch, parry, counter. Yeah, Teofimo Lopez is a very, very special talent, and very grateful that we get to watch him perform. He seems a little bit more centered, present in his mindset as well. And I think that's really, really coming through in his ability, because the mind will make or break athletic talents, no matter how God-gifted they are. So it's cool to see Teo really get that mind right and beats a 32-0 fighter, hands Arnold Barboza his first loss, and yeah, I think really reminds everyone that when Teofimo Lopez is on, I think he is the best fighter in the world at that weight class. Devin Haney had a really lackluster performance, in my opinion. Now, Devin Haney, I think, suffers from expectation because of how talented he is and because of how great that we think his ceiling can be. boxing fans, analysts, pundits, commentators view Devin Haney through the lens of these huge expectations. And especially after the fight he's coming off of against Ryan Garcia, where a lot of those expectations seem to crash, like a big wave hitting the sand. Like, a lot of people really wrote Devin Haney off after that fight. And which circle back to the mentality, and how the mentality can garner your skills coming through on the day. Like, Devin Haney had a lot to come back from, a lot to push through, and he didn't get an easy fight, man. Like, Ramirez, say what you want about where he is at in his career and his last few fights, how gun-shy he's become, but that's a real fighter, man. That is a real fighter, and Devin Haney needs credit where credit is due for his ability to shut down Ramirez's game last night. Ramirez had nothing for Devin Haney, and the commentators were very, very critical about Devin Haney and his performance, his lack of killer instinct. He looked very, very hesitant, afraid to get hit in there, and obviously coming off such a life-changing fight in the fact that you've hit the canvas multiple times, a new experience there. You've had to really, really get smacked and come through the other side of it. So we saw that there was still some lasting effects there in the mentality for Devin Haney, which stopped him pulling the trigger in a fight like this against Jose Ramirez, because I think Devin Haney left that ring with a lot more to give. And although he easily controlled the fight and won the fight most of the rounds, there's that expectation, and it's because we know his organic ability. Like, we know where his talent level is at, and for him to fall short in some of those areas, or really, really keep the fight at a pace that he can control and feel very comfortable in, without ever really looking to add on to that, even if he had the ability to, I think has got a lot of fans questioning exactly his mentality and the sort of performances he's throwing up, where he is in his career, based on the sort of ceiling we thought he would have reached by now at this point of his career. So very, very interesting performance by Devin Haney. There's no love lost there, of course. So I think Devin Haney's just going to continue to play that villain role. But we need to see him in some big fights, man. Like, the Garcia rematch, I think, is still huge, regardless of what happened to Garcia. But yeah, Devin Haney needs to find a weight class, like choose one. If he's going to go up to 147, there's just some big boys up there, man, and they crack. I'd love to see even Devin Haney, Romero, Devin Haney, Teo. I think there's a lot of names that you can plug and play out of these 6 fighters that took place on this card. Speaking of Rolando Romero, Ryan Garcia, that was a bit of an upset, hey? Rolando Romero looked absolutely massive at 147, dude. Like, huge. There was talk of Garcia and his size, but Rolly's really, really filled out. Like, he looked thick, powerful at that weight, and once he connected with a clean left hook, Ryan Garcia shut down for the rest of the 12 and did not want to get hit again. Romero carried massive power into that left hook that he landed. Double left hook, catches Ryan, delayed reaction, clean on the jaw too, like drops Ryan. And ever since that second round knockdown, Rolly's just dictated the pace, landed the cleaner shots, and didn't get touched over the 12. Like, he left there with not a scratch on his face. Very, very interesting fight. I don't think a lot of us saw it going the full 12. But I think Ryan Garcia, really didn't push himself at all in those 12 rounds. He got caught, got hurt, just started trying to save face, and, didn't want to go into that fire that had got him burnt previously. And going into that fire was the only way for him to win a fight like this. So Very interesting, great performance by Rollies. I think a lot of people, really count him out based on his last results, him coming late to the game. But his style, man, for how late he is to this game, very awkward and gives a lot of top fighters issues, man. Like, he really, really did a great job of not letting Garcia get settled last night. And the jabs to the body were beautiful. Rollies really showed patience and like a coming of age performance from Rolly Romero, which, yeah, I think he deserves. And Ryan Garcia, for how flat that he looked, there's a clear explanation. Like, he got cracked, dropped, hurt early, and went into survival mode ever since that moment. So, hats off to Rollies. Up against it, to say the least, in every facet of this fight week and fight. Trusts himself, his abilities, and comes through the other side. Beautiful work. Catapults his name back into the real top side money fights of this beautiful sport of boxing. So, like I said, for someone so late to the game, he has done a spectacular job gaining respect, and that makes him a 3-division world champion. Yeah, anyone who's a 3-division world champion, regardless of what you think, deserves your respect. So, really, really intrigued to see where Rollies goes, where Ryan goes, because although it's a pretty tough loss for Ryan to take, I think the Haney fight is massive and you can make that whenever. So, disappointing performance from Garcia. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of questions as well regarding the drugs, his long layoff since that, steroid accusations popping for Ostarine. So, he looked flat tonight, and makes sense that a lot of people are going to point to the clean test results and the negative results last time out. So, Ryan Garcia is in an interesting position, to say the least, after last night. Let me know what you guys think, who you want to see moving forward. And I think, like I said earlier, that you can really just plug and play these guys, regardless of wins and losses, that were in these 3 main events. They can fight each other multiple times over, however way you want to slice it, and you're going to get entertainment. Like the fight week, the build-up, just having these 3 superstars in such close proximity all week was, great. And their counterparts did a fantastic job. So, I thought the event was special. And to see how they shut down, there was a bit of a gimmicky aspect around where the fight was taking place in New York. I didn't love the walk-ins, like having them in the back of those cars. That's just my personal opinion. Regardless, it's cool to see boxing on such a big stage, and having a lot of cash thrown at it like that created some hype and some spectacle. Let me know what you guys thought about the event, the fights, the fighters, where they go next. Really looking forward to see how it all shapes out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really appreciate that. We will chat soon.